Hey everyone, this is Jork from Portugal and Beyond. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch my videos, and welcome if this is the first time seeing one. Today's video is going to be talking about a recent article that was in the Portugal news talking about real estate values for the country of Portugal. And the article was kind of a gotcha type of title that said, half of the properties in Portugal are worth less than 50,000 euros. So if you read that article, you're going, why are we not moving to Portugal tomorrow? It's incredible. It's so cheap. This is ridiculous. But there's some gotchas to that. So I want to go through and just show you. It was a short article. It was only about a paragraph long. But sometimes when this stuff gets published, I get some comments because myself and other YouTube creators that you're following are usually talking about, or in my case, complaining about the rising rents, specifically here in Lisbon. So to go to the article, they're showing, based upon the database of all of the property in Portugal, the residence property, that again, 50% or more is worth less than 50,000 euros. What you can see from the article is the most valuable properties, or the ones that are more expensive, are located in Lisbon, Porto, and the Algarve region. As expected, those are high areas for immigration, so immigrants, expats. There's more industry in those areas. Maybe not the Algarve, but there's certainly more tourism in those three areas for sure. And there's some misnomers about it as well, because you may go, well, I can just go get a house in the country for less than $50,000. And that's not necessarily true. I wish that there was a little more substance to the article, because some of you may read this and go, God, this is going to be cheaper than I thought, or what Jorik has said, or other people. It's not the case, because what they don't go into in this article is the state of disrepair of farm property, homes, apartment buildings, apartments, and things like that, and the cost it would take to rehabilitate or renovate them up to living standards or livable standards. That's something that I wish the article would touch on. So what I have done in many videos is I've talked to you about rents going up, especially in Lisbon, and that's the truth. I've also done a couple of videos where I've talked about some of the outlying areas that you might consider if you're going to look at Portugal as an option and you're going, I don't want to deal with Lisbon, Porto, or the Algarve. I can deal with a smaller town. I'm okay being in the interior. I want a better deal on property. I want a farm. I want land. I want a house versus an apartment. And I don't want to pay the rents in the big cities. And I completely understand that. So here is a photo of, I'll say, the northern half of Portugal. So this is north of Lisbon. And I made a couple of big red circles of areas that I want to talk about with you. If you're looking at property and you want to find, I'll say, property, it may not be 50,000 euros, but in some decent areas that are not Lisbon, Porto, or the Algarve, but I think you'll find some good value in these areas. Here goes. To the very north, there's Braga, Guimarães, and Villarreal. Those are three areas that are near Porto that I would highly recommend you looking at. I'm going to do separate videos on each of those locations so you get a feel for the town services, what they're like, get a little glimpse of them, kind of like what I'm doing with the neighborhoods here in Lisbon. I'll do that in the coming months as I keep rolling with this. And then kind of a wide, big circle south of Porto, you have Aveiro, which is right on the water. Following along the water below that is Figueira de Foz. There's Lyra, Nazaré, Caldas da Rainha, Peniche. Those are all little coastal towns or near coastal towns that people have talked about moving to. And then a little bit inland, you have Coimbra, which is a famous university town. Tomar in the south, and Fatima. Fatima you would know from Miracle from, I think it was 1917, the girl saw a vision of Virgin Mary. Tomar is an ancient village. It's actually lots of Knights Templar artifacts and buildings in that area. It's a very cool place. And then further east, as you're going towards Spain, you've got Castella Branco, Guarda. Those might be options too if you want some mountainous region, and if you want something that comes with more farmland, just your money's going to go much farther. Most likely you're going to need a car. Buses don't get into all of these areas. Trains don't necessarily get into all these areas. So those areas you'll most likely need a vehicle. But with what you'll probably be saving in real estate cost, a vehicle will be no big deal to you. And then looking to Lisbon and the south, I've got the big bold red circle here. I've talked briefly just south of Lisbon, Setúbal, Sesimbra, but going east towards Spain, there is an Estremoz, a small little village, or a smaller town, I should say. Évora, that is also an old Roman village. It has some ruins there, which are very cool. It's also what many consider as the gateway to the Alentejo wine region, which is, I'll call it Portugal's version of Napa Valley or Sonoma for the best way to, I guess that's the best analogy I can give. Beautiful country there, also much more affordable. And then as you're getting to the south, Grandola, Beja, Serpa. Beja's, there's not much there. You could probably get many places probably for 50,000 or less there. But you are kind of in the middle of nowhere. You're kind of far from the Algarve. You're far from Lisbon. So if you want to be in the middle of nowhere, that's a good place to go. But I don't know if I'd recommend that particular location. Along the coast, along the Atlantic, there's Sinege, I believe that's how it's pronounced. That's a place that some people have been migrating to, and a few U.S. citizens have told me that that's where they're going to end up retiring to. So as you're looking at these options, just keep in mind, as you see articles from me, as you read things in your Facebook feed or your whatever your social media feed is that talks about the latest and greatest of Portugal, and you know it's the greatest here, and it's so affordable with the living. It is affordable living, but the real estate piece in the major metropolitan areas is not so affordable relative to where you are coming from around the world. But I wanted to give you this video because, again, as I saw the article and read it, I read it going, I live here. I have a good idea what the real estate market looks like, not just in Lisbon, but in the countryside. And I kept thinking that if someone read this that had never been to Portugal or is thinking about moving here, you would think that this is the greatest thing ever, and you are going to find thousands of deals, and you're going to have a pick of the litter when it comes to properties. That's not the case. If you do a quick search on a Remax, Century 21, Idealista, and type in some of these more remote towns, you'll find some good deals, but you'll also find a number of properties that need renovation. They're in complete ruin. So you might get a house with farmland if you want that, but the house is gutted and there's no roof. So you have to redo the house, and the farmland hasn't been tended to in a decade. So just make sure that as you're looking for property, it's the same principle as where you are from. Whoever's watching the video, wherever you are in the world, you oftentimes get what you pay for. So I wanted to make this again so that you have a good understanding and a more accurate understanding of what gets reported versus what the reality is, because we saw some of these same articles in the mid to late 20-teens before we moved, thinking, gosh, things are going to be so great, until we got here and started looking at the prices and going, this doesn't match what I'm reading in the newspaper. So again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Look for many more this year. 2022 is going to be a big year for posting a number of things on Portugal as well as our travels, but I want to get you more information on Portugal as I can get it and produce it. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.